Thanks everyone for joining us. I am incredibly excited about today's 3-minute blueprint update. We have none other than Dr. Thornton, who is the chair of the Prince George's County Board of Education, has been doing work in education in Maryland for quite some time, and is also the predecessor to the Kerwin Commission. So today he's going to be talking from his position as the chair of the Prince George's County Board of Education. But this is going to be a really great conversation. I'm excited for it. So Dr. Thornton, let's jump right in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work with the Prince George's County Board of Education?
Yes, I am Dr. Alvin Thornton, former professor at Howard University, chair of the department there and provost. I'm also, more importantly, the father of 2 graduates of the Prince George's County Public School System, the system that served them quite well. And I'm presently also the grandfather of 3 current enrollees in the system. So this is my 4th time chairing the Prince George's County Board of Education. I chaired it throughout the 90s, and I was called back to chair it now. And so I'm happy to be in that space and so excited about the blueprint, which I think is so critical to Prince George's County because, you know, it's 132,000 students in 208 schools with 20,000 teachers. It's a suburban urban community, which is increasingly populated by lower income and needy students, 63% of them. So the blueprint, which addresses concentrated poverty, it addresses professional development opportunities for our teachers. It addresses issues like a developed and enhanced curricular modification, CTE, career technical education, all those things that an urban suburban system like Prince George's County, composed of 95% Latino and Black students. So if we get the blueprint right, you know, it is a blueprint for our future because it addresses the 2nd largest school system in our state. And everyone is enhanced by that. Systems that are much smaller, everyone improves as a system like Prince George's County. Now, the opposite is also true, Joe, and that is if we don't get a system like that right, the 2nd largest, then the whole economy of the state suffers. Our competitive position regionally suffers. So I'm excited about the blueprint. Notwithstanding COVID, this is exactly the time that we should do blueprint.
Awesome. Well, that is a fantastic answer, and you answered a little bit of my next question. But if we are to override the veto of the blueprint for Maryland's future, how would that benefit those that you're tasked with serving as chair of the Board of Education?
Well, first of all, it would require something that we've always tried to do, and that is get a good marriage between local contribution and state contribution, hopefully with some enhanced federal contribution. And we put those 3 things together as an umbrella economically over our children with appropriate accountability and transparency. The blueprint does that, right? We worked hard. I served on the formula writing group to create a mix of obligation at the local level in terms of funding and enhanced contribution from the state. That is affordability at the local level with enhanced from the state. And that means that then a county like mine, by the way, which has not been able to fund its schools properly over the past 42 years. One of the things I do as chairman of the board is to lead the board in budget cutting. The great pain that we just cut $36 million from the education of our children in July of this year. Very painful. Well, the blueprint will help us obviate the need to do that because that's very painful. I mean, that makes class sizes larger. It means that we don't have support structures around our teachers. Concentrated poverty we cannot address. One of the things that I'm most excited about the blueprint was that it allows for community schools and community schools coordinators, wraparound services for our children. So, you know, that's how the blueprint's going to help. But more importantly than anything else, what the blueprint does is kind of continue some of the things that we did earlier, and that is it creates a consensus among the people of Maryland and in my county about what we want for our children. That's the most important thing, is to create a nonpartisan, non-regional, non-racial consensus about what we want for our babies. Now, in a county like Prince George's, where the school system population is quite different from the general population, you need that consensus, because if you don't have it, you won't have a commitment to the investment in public education, which is the great equalizer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. And my last question here is, do you have a message to lawmakers as they head back to session regarding the veto of the blueprint for Maryland's future?
Yes, I do. And that is the people of Maryland are behind you. They have your back. These are very difficult choices that they'll have to make, particularly in the midst of revenue stream shortage associated with COVID-19. But they should know that the people who overwhelmingly supported the blueprint, overwhelmingly, right? It wasn't based on party or region. And there was no difference between Somerset and Allegheny and Baltimore and Prince George's County. So they should know that, first of all. I'm not naive to politics, but they should know that. They should also know that this is what government does when there are stressors on public services like education. We invest in a Keynesian kind of way, right? In a Roosevelt kind of way. This is the time to invest when there is, in fact, a major stressor on a public service entity like public education. So I expect them, with the support of the people of Maryland, because we'll be there in Annapolis to support them as they make the hard choices. And I think at the end of the day, when they override the governor's veto, which they must do, and in other words, help the governor to rethink his unwise decision, because it was premature, unnecessary, politically unwise, and I think somewhat immoral to do what he did. So he'll have another choice, hopefully, to join the legislature as President Ferguson and Speaker Jones and those override his veto with the support of the people of Maryland.
Awesome. Dr. Thornton, thank you so much for joining us for our 3-minute update today. I think this was an incredibly rich conversation, and I think we all learned a lot about how vital the blueprint is, not only for Prince George's County, but for the state of Maryland. So thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.